What's going on, everybody? Patrick Auger, Matthew Wells, Drake Riggs here for the Body Lock. And today we're talking about UFC 259 scoring. So if you missed the UFC 259 pay-per-view, I don't know what you were doing because it was stacked top to bottom. So that's on you. But we had a little bit of some controversy when it comes to the judges' decisions throughout the night. Particularly, there was the Dominic Cruz, Casey Kenny split decision. There was the Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling. Although that fight ended in controversy when you looked at the scorecards up through 3 rounds, they were split on that as well. And then you had the main event with a 49-46 and two 49-45s. Dana White was quoted as saying about the scoring was insane in talking in the post-fight press conference. These guys are giving out 10-8 rounds like effing. There were 2 rounds in that fight. They gave it 10-8. This is in regards to the main event, by the way. When I came up in the fight business, a 10-8 was an ass whooping. You got your ass whooped. You didn't do shit in that round and got beat down if it was a 10-8. So we'll get to the main event as well, obviously. But, you know, when we're talking about scoring in general throughout the card, seemed a little off or at least a little inconsistent, no?
It did seem a little bit wonky at times. Wasn't the worst officiating card like in recent memory, but still, I mean, it's kind of the consistency of, I guess, inconsistency in a way from these judges. It's just mind blowing, man, because, you know, I don't know what some of these guys are looking for. And if you really dig deep and if you like look at some of these scores on like MMA decisions and you see how some judges judge some fights, and it's like, well, what were you seeing in this one that you didn't see in the other one? It's kind of wild. And unfortunately, some of these guys are really costing fighters, paychecks when they don't recognize what they should be recognizing in terms of action going on in the ring. I mean, I don't understand how you score that fight for Kenny against Cruz. I just don't see it. I was more so on the 30-27 side of things versus trying to find a way to score that for Kenny. So I just don't understand what these refs are looking for. And to Dana's point about the 10-8, yeah, I understand. Like, that's the old school 10-8 method. I mean, the new school 10-8 is if you dominate a round, you're more likely going to get a 10-8 under the new rules. But obviously, we know those new rules aren't everywhere yet. So it's still kind of confusing week in and week out. But I guess that's the state of MMA right now.
Yeah, it's definitely changing. The 10-8s, definitely the criteria seems to be make it much more possible than it used to be, right? 10-8s didn't used to be as easy to come by as they are now. Drake, without getting into the main event too much, what are your thoughts on the judging throughout the entire night?
Yeah, I don't think that this was the absolute worst card for judging and scorecards that we have seen recently. Just I think considering the fact that the right winners still ended up winning in most of these cases here, that kind of helps things. But I did find it interesting how Dana pointed out the scorecards here rather than some of these other events that we have been seeing, just because nothing was affected super duper negatively, right? Like there was no complaints of robberies or anything like that. But scares. It's scary to see the weirdness in all the different types of scoring and what have you. So, it was definitely a unique night for some scorecards. And, as Matt said, the Dominic Cruz and Casey Kenny one was kind of the first one that jumped off the screen out of what ended up happening overall. Probably maybe the closest one out of all of these. I don't know. I guess these are all the closest fights that you could have that ended up going to decision, but it still felt pretty clear about this being a Cruz 29-28 or 30-27, which I had personally all 3 rounds. But that second round, which all of the judges, except for Sal D'Amoto, who did give all 30 to all three to Cruz. Kenny though got round 2 on the other 2 scorecards. So there are cases to be argued in all of these scorecards, I think, except for, maybe a round in each of the title fights that we will talk about. Well, at least definitely the main event, which before we really get into that, I think that there is a case for a 10-8 in one of those rounds, but not the 5th round, which is what they scored. 2 of them scored.
Interesting. Well, yeah, with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's dive right into the meat and potatoes here of the main event. So, MMA decisions. First of all, the official scorecards again, 49-46, 49-45, 49-45. MMA decisions, you had 18 journalists giving it to Blachowicz, one giving it 49-46, the rest going 48-47. Then you had 7 giving it to Adesanya, 2 of those being you two. So, just from a fan poll perspective, you had 9 drawing, saying it was a draw, 63 giving it to Adesanya, and 726 fans giving it to Blachowicz. That's 92% to 8. So, before I explain my scoring here and where I was on this, let's get into you two guys, because I'm on the other side of this myself. I thought Blachowicz win. You two had it for Adesanya. So, Matt, let's start with you. You gave it, I believe, 48-47, Izzy? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
All right. How did you come to such a conclusion?
So this absurd conclusion I came to was rounds 1 through 3 were for Izzy on my scorecards, 4 and 5 for Jan. And I just thought that Izzy was doing more earlier in the fight, leading the dance, beating Jan to the punch. Although Jan was landing nice counters throughout those rounds as well, I still thought Izzy did enough to win those rounds. The one that I was kind of leaning the other way on was the second round. I could see how somebody could score the second round for Jan, but with judges Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amoto giving both the first and second round to Jan is wild to me. Like, that is wild. Izzy won at least one of those 2 rounds. I will not entertain any argument saying that he lost both the first and the second round. No, that's just wild to me.
What's wild to me, Matt, is that during our fight companion, you had the live stats there where Jan clearly outstruck Izzy in the first round.
We said on the live stream that those stats do not make sense, because if watching the fight just on its surface, it looked like Izzy was landing more.
Checked kicks don't count as strikes, my man. Checked kicks don't count. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's move over. Let's move over to Drake. So Drake, you also scored the fight for Adesanya, and I have to particularly call you out for a tweet where you said that this reminded you of Volkanovski Holloway 2. What on earth are you talking about? Please elaborate here, because that seems very far-fetched.
That is a brilliant comparison, and you know it. Everybody will understand here in a moment. I will tell you why. The comparison I make is not really to how that fight played out and it being so incredibly close and, arguably a robbery, as people would like to say, for Holloway. But the fact is, the big thing about that fight that I took away from it, Holloway and Volkanovski 2, was the fact that it kind of made people unintentionally want, the overall scoring, where you're scoring a fight as a whole rather than round by round. But we score fights round by round. And if you look at that fight, the first 2 rounds, very clearly Holloway, right? Like, no doubt about it. Those are for sure his. He got the knockdowns, all that. But then rounds 3 through 5 were a lot closer and edged out by Volkanovski in most people's opinions, who had him winning that fight. Of course, you can swing it either way, but they were very close enough to where Volkanovski arguably won, all that. And then in this fight, I see a little bit of the same thing, and in reverse. 1 through 3 being for Adesanya, very, very close, but edging them to him. And then 4 and 5 were ultra obvious. No way whatsoever you can score those for Adesanya unless you're a blind person. So that's the comparison I'm making there. Not to what happened in the fights necessarily, but the fact that you look at how rounds are scored and all that. Not all rounds are created equally. That's what I'm getting at with that. And in this fight here, it's one of those things where, I personally felt like the clearest rounds for each fighter were 1 and 3 for Adesanya, then 4 and 5, no doubt about it, were the clearest overall for Blachowicz. Then it came down to round 2 for me. I could see that going either way. I thought it was a close fight, and not mad at Blachowicz winning whatsoever, but the 49-45s in the 4 rounds to 1, that's kind of That's not great. I don't think that is great. Blachowicz winning all 4 rounds is a little bit crazy to me. The 10-8s in round 5, I don't agree with whatsoever. I was feeling, as round 4 ended, I was like, that one was very close. I was on the fence of giving that round a 10-8. He had more control in that round, unless I'm getting them mixed up. I was very busy on the scene there, But I lean more towards round 4 as the 10-8. So these scorecards are very, very confusing to me from what I saw. But as for the fight itself, I can understand both arguments for both guys. But in terms of scoring, yeah, this was a very unexpected set of scorecards.
I mean, you say it was unexpected. I do appreciate that, explanation for the Holloway versus Volkanovski too. That does let you off the hook a little bit with that.
You're
but
welcome.
in terms of this though, I like 49-46 was not that unexpected to me. I had rounds 4 and 5 were clearly Jan. Round 3 was Izzy, and I thought round 2 was pretty clearly Jan as well. And then looking at round 1, I thought that was close, but I leaned Jan on that, and because originally watching it, I thought he outstruck Izzy, and the stats back that up. He landed more. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to this, it's crazy. Somebody could score 4 rounds for Jan and only 1 for Izzy. If you look at the stats, and we're talking about, I won't say significant strikes. I'll go just stats themselves in terms of total strikes. And I went back and rewatched the fight just to make sure I wasn't, being crazy here. Jan outlands Izzy in every round except round number 3. He outlands him every single time. He checks almost every kick that Izzy throws, especially in the first round.
Does he do more damage though, Pat?
Yes. Yes, he does. Because half of the time when Izzy hits, it's glancing shots or Jan has some sort of defense there. Whereas Jan's jabs, straight to Izzy's face. Those counters, when he has landed, straight to Izzy's face. Izzy's good with rolling with him, but I think he did more damage. So, again, I wasn't shocked by it. I thought 2, 4, and 5 were clearly Jan. 1 was close enough. I could see people giving it to Izzy, but I wasn't shocked when the judges all gave it to Jan as well. So, I don't know. I don't know how you could score round 2 for Adesanya there. That seemed to be the clearest of the first 3 rounds for Jan. And I know there was a lot of hype coming in here. I know there was a lot of things going on, but that to me, if you look at the strikes, you look at that, I mean, it's Jan all day. Let us know in the comments who you feel won the fight, the main event and other fights. If you thought judging was wonky anywhere else, did you think Jan outstruck Izzy like I did? Do you think it was surprising it was a 49-46? I don't agree with the 10-8s. I'm with you both there. 10-8 was a little too much, whether it was 4 or 5. No, I don't know about that. But I think it was a clear victory for Jan, in my opinion. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Matt and Drake? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And, just to wrap this thing up real quickly, let's go ahead and ask another opinion real quick here. Ant Walker, Jan versus Izzy. How'd you score it, my man?
I scored the first 2 for Izzy, the last 3 for Jan. I understand the scorecards being kind of all over the place because that was a difficult fight to judge. 10-8s were stupid though. That's the one thing I have against any scorecard for this fight was a 10-8 for either fighter. That was silly. I think that the reason why I gave the first 2 for Adesanya, I think Jan was playing Izzy's game more. He was keeping it a distance fight. He was allowing Izzy to do what he wanted to do. And whenever they did go into their moments of engagement, when Jan would try to blitz him, he got tagged up a lot. Like he got hit up quite a few times. And although he did land his jab here and there and stuff, there were 1 or 2 that landed flush, but most of it, Izzy was negating a lot of the power on those punches, a lot of leaning out, a lot of rolling his head, rolling his shoulders and whatnot. So Jan had a hard time landing flush on him. And I think that's why he got so tired so quickly, in falling for the feints. Izzy was putting on, a very cautious clinic in the opening of the fight, and then it devolved into Jan, using his size and and out strategizing Izzy to take the win.
All right, well there you have it. The one man who gave Jan Blachowicz round 3 in that fight, Ant Walker, ladies and gentlemen. There you go.
I think I don't know. I was drinking, so we'll see. But I do know I gave 2 rounds to Izzy, 3 to Jan. So maybe I mix the second and third up. You never know. Either way, same score.